on YouTube, since we do record these meetings now and stream them live.
Thank you, Chair Cotton, excuse me. Just so that you know, I wasn't here last meeting, and it was hard for me sometimes to hear what was happening. So just so you know that for this microphone, you'll notice that you can hear me very well. If you turn your head to the side and you're starting to talk to other people, you cannot hear. So you need to, when you're going to speak, it may seem very, very strange and very awkward, but pick up your microphone and actually follow yourself around as you talk, and then it'll pick up. So this is important too for anybody that's coming up and trying to make any public announcements or comments, that if you are trying to address anyone, it's more that you're addressing the board. But if you are trying to reach around to talk to somebody, then please pick up the microphone. Don't be afraid. As you can see, it's not hard for this to do that, and it's picking up what I'm saying. But as soon as I take it away from my face, people in TV land cannot hear. Exactly. So just so you're aware, this little button right here will turn on and off the microphone. As you can see, it's green. As soon as I push the button, it'll go to red. But as soon as I push it and it goes green, then you can hear. And just have it follow around with you. It may seem strange, but people in TV land will be able to hear you, as well as everybody else will be able to hear you. If you can hear yourself in the AV, then everybody else can hear you. But as soon as you walk away or you put it away from it, don't be afraid to get it up by your mouth, because that's where you're going to be able to hear. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Gay. All right, with that being said, we're going to call the meeting to order. It's 6:37. Director McKenzie is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Director McKenzie, and residents in attendance. We are going to move to establish a quorum. We have 7 of 7 members here today, and I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Director Duckworth seconds the consent agenda motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. And we will move on to number 5, presentations and awards and announcements, which is going to be a presentation by the Anthem Growth Committee of 2025. This is phase 2. And to start, this will be Roger Willis, former Anthem Community Council Board Chair. Roger, if you'd approach the podium. Is there a remote up there for you, Roger? Okay.
It's green now. There is a remote. And let's see if it works. Okay. All right. That's my first slide. Before I get into the real meat of the presentation, I did want to say something, kind of an introductory level-setting exercise, if you will. Those of us who have been on that committee kind of came into it with our own, call it our own lenses that we were looking at. And my lens is different than other lenses, so I will interpret some things maybe a little differently. But to get started, you'll hear me use a couple of terms that you may not have heard before. One of them, I think Dino kind of made this your favorite, one of your favorite phrases, and that's Riverside. And that is the conceptual new development area west, adjacent to and west of Anthem. So when you hear me say the word Riverside, hopefully we all know what that means, and it's very important here to the discussion. Second thing is, I happen to like the 2.0 designations on second versions of things, so I will refer to the combined Anthem 1.0, which is what we are today, plus Riverside as Anthem 2.0. So when you hear me say that, that's the combined entity. From my lens that I mentioned, and from about 10,000 feet, when I look at the Growth Committee and Growth Committee 2.0 as well, there were kind of four things that I found to be the key things that we were trying to do. One was to protect, and the reason for the Growth Committee is to protect and enhance the Anthem lifestyle and amenities. Secondly, we want to find, if it's possible, compatible partners who are willing to help provide shared amenities for Anthem 2.0. Thirdly, we wanted to determine some WIFMs, what's in it for me, that would help sell the idea of annexation to the developer as well as to the rest of the community, rest of the Anthem community. And in many discussions, we kind of came to the conclusion, at least some of us did, that one of the WIFMs, and there are many of them, but one of the WIFMs is the idea of a new or enhanced or expanded community center. And guess what? It's called Community Center 2.0 for those of you who hadn't taken the hint yet. And one reason for that is Community Center 2.0 is going to be a huge investment. But it's also going to be, if you think about it, anecdotally, it's probably the number one or number two need for an Anthem 2.0, given the way that our facilities are busy today. So that could be a great selling point for our community as well as for the developer. The fourth thing is to understand the financial implications of annexation. And that's what we originally called the financial plan. The scope of that plan, and again, because of the size of the investment that would be required for a Community Center 2.0, is we really needed to understand what the one-time investment would be and what the continuing costs would be. We also need to know from, once we understand that, we could determine the impact on our assessments. And finally, the financial plan can help us gain support from the Anthem 1.0 community as well as the developer. So a financial plan is going to be very important for moving forward with, and it sounds like we have a emergency here. It wasn't for Anthem 2.0? Okay, good. Okay. Now, a financial plan has some prerequisites, though. First of all, we need to know that, at least conceptually, the plans of the new and upgraded amenities that would be added to Anthem 2.0, if you will. Secondly, once we know what those amenities might be, we need some cost estimates to design, build, and operate whatever those new amenities would be. And thirdly, we need to know what financial resources are available to us to help pay for all of this. Now, the status of the prerequisites, at least as we see them, is we really only have limited information available. So the idea of a financial plan, which is something that would guide the community, guide the council to deliver on the promises that we make to our community, but we just don't have all the data we need. So we started out to determine kind of a ballpark number of what some of the things could be. And what we did is we looked at a new community center that was being developed in Queen Creek, their Queen Creek Recreation and Aquatic Center. It is maybe not a Taj Mahal, but next to it. It's a great facility and probably a lot more than what we would need. We tried to base some ballpark ideas of what it would cost us to do something, a scaled down recreation and aquatic center. And there's just too much, scientific or perhaps unscientific wild ass guesses that have to be made to go forward. So the idea of it in a complete financial plan, it's before its time right now. So we decided what we could do, though, is start with a financial framework as a first step. And that's what I'll try to describe to you going forward here. So the financial plan is now referred to as the framework. It has two big components, the annexation component and the amenities component. The annexation component and the amenities component both have one-time as well as continuing costs associated with them. And under the annexation component, those are basically the things that we would have to do in order to complete the annexation, as well as to keep things going smoothly with the new development. Take a look at, if you look at the annexation component, it should deal with things like our board realignment. I think we discussed that in our Growth Committee 1.0 about a year ago with you. We would have to determine what the assessment rates would be going forward. We would probably have to make some changes to the governing documents. We'd have to make sure that we could continue to bill and collect for the new development, as well as continue to do it for Anthem 1.0. And then finally, we would have to consider the operation and maintenance of those amenities. So that's what we would be looking at in the annexation component. The amenities component, there's a couple pieces to that. First and foremost, we need to know what the current Anthem community has in terms of its amenities. And secondly, what does the current Anthem community need and want? That's a link to the project that hopefully gets approved sometime over the next couple of months, the new facilities master plan. So those are, what do we want? What are we going to have? Secondly, we need to know what a developer would need, what the annexation would need, what, in this case, Riverside would want to have. What would the developer want to include? And would any new and upgraded amenities, what would they cost? What are they going to cost us, and how do we fund those things? We built with a lot of help from Dino and some other folks, a financial model. It's an Excel workbook. It has a number of pieces to it. First of all, obviously, it has some sort of a dashboard to tell us what's going on and give us a summary. It talks about the expenses, the capital expenditure requirements, and then the ongoing operations and maintenance. A funding stack. What are the possible sources of money for paying for all of this? The enhancement fund, the reserve fund. You can see the other items that are on the list. And then finally, what's the impact on the monthly and quarterly assessments for both Anthem 1.0, for Riverside, and for Anthem 2.0. And you can see in your packet, there's much more information on this, especially of the financial model itself. There's about, I think, 3 or 4 pages which show the various tabs. There's 27 or 28 tabs in this worksheet, and what kinds of input we need to exercise that model and come up with some answers to questions like, how much is this really going to cost us? What is the monthly, quarterly assessment impact going to be? So in a nutshell, those are the things that we have been involved in, and we do have the financial model, the framework, if you will. I've been through that with Aaron and with Dee, and there's still more work to do on it. We need to probably clean it up a little bit and document it in a way that the staff and committees can use the model. We also need to have some conceptual designs of our shared amenities. That's certainly a very, very important next step. The detailed cost estimates and identifying the funding sources. And then once we have that information, we can exercise the framework and start looking at various alternatives as to does it make sense to go forward with an amenity such as Community Center 2 as part of any kind of an annexation project. So that's a very brief summary. There's more information in the packet for you. If you have any questions, I'm glad to try to answer them for you.
Roger, thank you so much. This was great. I appreciate the summary and honestly the growth committee being done. I know we'll make recommendations in January, but it's been a great 5 years working with you, 3 on the board and then 2 on the growth committee. So I really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Roger on his presentation about the ACC financial feasibility for additional amendment or amenities? No? All right, Roger, thank you so much, sir.
Turn it over to Curtis now to kind of give the overall summary of what we've done as part of the the Annexation Study 2.0 Growth Committee.
That's great.
Thank you, Mr. Willis.
Thank you.
Green for me. I wouldn't have figured that out. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. My task was kind of to do a summary. We're going to be coming. Did I do that?
Cue the power
Yeah,
out.
you didn't give me any presentation on that part.
Well, fortunately for us, Kurt is a really good talker, so he could just walk us through.
I can wing it without.
You can wing it.
Yeah, if you got it in front of you. Yeah, my role here was to come in with sort of a summary, knowing that we're coming back in January with firm recommendations and so forth. But I think it was a good time to, as we wrap up this second year, is really get on the same page with the board and make sure that kind of what we're going to come forward with in January with recommendations makes sense. So this, call it a kind of a preview of those recommendations, so to speak. So in my first slide, I showed you, we have a new development that will be in on the west side of Anthem. I gave you just a square because nobody can argue that something's not going to come. I don't know what shape it will be, but development is inevitable, but not imminent. And what I mean by that is something is going to happen over there. Rio Vista planning community, they are planning, there's all sorts of entities planning stuff over there. So something will be developed. We will have neighbors to the west of us. It is not, nice. It is not imminent in that, I think for what we talk about in terms of things, it's not happening tomorrow. So what does that actually look like? I think what we can honestly say is we know there's a major infrastructure development that has to happen, and that's not going to be done for 5 years, and that's wastewater and some other things that would be happening. So we are not probably in that 5-year time frame right now. So something would happen probably after that. And when I say development, large-scale development, there's little things happening over there for sure. We've seen that already. But again, it is inevitable but not imminent. For land development, 5 years isn't very long. So it does behoove us to be thinking in that mindset that something will be happening, people will be looking at development over there. So what's our role going to be? And I just tried to make this real simple is whoever comes next to us is seeking land that's next to us. They could go anywhere in the desert, but they're probably going to plop next to us because we're going to be a positive impact on their development. So someone's going to derive benefit of being next to Anthem. So they're going to see a positive benefit to that. What will Anthem get out of a development coming to it? And I think just to keep it real simple, positive, negative, or neutral. So someone coming next to us, and when I say negative, it's not going to be a landfill. We know that. Rio Vista Planning, the city isn't going to let a landfill come next to us. So not that type of negative. But if early on in the growth committee, we said someone next to us is going to, realtors are going to say, hey, look at that nice park over there. There's amenities over there. Oh, sure, they may not even admit that they're not part of that, but you can go use that. And there's going to be burdens on Anthem. There's going to be costs associated with keeping up more stuff. That's what I mean by negative. I don't know exactly what that would look like because we don't know the development, but that would be somewhat of a negative impact on Anthem. I think we can hope that we get good developer partners that come next to us and want to be good partners. The city of Phoenix says, hey, you shall do X, Y, and Z. Maybe they'll be a neutral partner to us and come next to us and do a like type of community and really have the amenities that are similar to Anthem and be a neutral type of thing. I think it'd be difficult to say that we would get a positive impact from a development unless we seek a partnership. So where we are out front seeking partnership with developers and so forth that says, hey, the sum is greater than the parts. You could make a development over there and you're going to derive some benefit, but if you partner with us, we can lift, high tide raises all boats, and we can work together and we can make a great community. So I think those are the three positions that I think are out there for a development coming next to us. I think in 2 years, we've been up, down, left, and right. Different people are part of the growth committee, and what is the ACC's role? And I think I would say I made these three positions: passive, active, and some mix thereof. So real easy, active, let's go out, spend money, let's go get in the development game and start thinking in that mindset and really take control of that. I think there was very little appetite for that. I mean, to start committing funds to developing over there, really getting active over there, that's where I think there was not extreme appetite for that. I think on the other end is being completely passive to it. I think we've seen a little bit of that position. It was described. We've had communities next to us. They pop up, and we maybe aren't on the right footing yet to know what to do with them. And so we have a passive stance to what's going on there. And long term, if someone just comes and starts developing, we could just wait and see what happens and get involved at that time. But I think there is a mix that we think the growth committee, I think, had a consensus that there should be an actual mix of some things would be passive and some things would be active. So this is a real simple just chart, and I just took a few things and just addressed the issues of these things that we have to deal with. If we have a wildcat community, and what I mean is a developer shows up and builds 10 homes, that would be a wildcat community, and what do we do with that? I think if we're passive, we just wait for that to happen, and then if they come to us or we go to them, we deal with it as it is. If we're active, we can actually, we want to reduce those wildcat communities and really wait till we have a big development over there. I don't think that's actually in the cards quite yet. So some mix thereof is, hey, we can develop firm parameters of what we want to see when a wildcat community comes up. I think what we decided is, due to voting structure and so forth, we can't accept 10 homes in a community and have them vote. So we can put a structure in that this is the minimum number of community or units that would be involved. Here's how that would be absorbed into a voting structure, and only when those parameters are hit should we consider annexing some of that. So we can put firm parameters on what to do with those wildcat communities. Again, I'll just focus on the passive active. we talked about forming a committee that would stay active in the Village of Rio Vista Planning Community, attend those events, make sure that we know who's talking, what developments are happening, and just keep an eye on things. And then those might trigger us to act in the future. So, hey, a developer is talking about doing a major development over there. We stay out in front of that, and then we can bring that to the growth committee or the board and say, hey, now we might want to really seriously consider what's our role in that activity coming up. So what you'll see is we want to develop some structure to be a passive to some things and active in other things. So passively attend things and then actively be able to address other things. This just goes into greater detail of what that would actually be. I think what you'll see in the recommendation when we come in January is either board members would be part of a group that would do this, or we can have some continuation of a growth committee that can be totally dormant and wait for a trigger, or hey, these people can go actually out and attend events and represent Anthem on behalf of the board in certain parameters that bestowed by the board. So I won't go and read those to you, but that's kind of the gist of the summary of what we're talking about. I don't have a question slide, so I'll just take those there.
Well, thank you, Kurt. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. And again, past 2 years, both phases of the growth committee, you've been a pleasure to work with. So I really appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Coming tonight. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions for Kurt? No?
Nope. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Really appreciate you and Roger. Great information, guys. Thank you very much. All right. Any questions from the individual in attendance today? Ron? The state. Thank you, Ron. Yeah, we don't. All right, we're going to move on to, are we, make sure that we're not accepting anything on here. We're going to move on to staff reports.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. A couple of updates for you this evening. First, Anthem Neighborhood Watch. They are still looking for a chair and vice chair. So if you know anyone who would be interested, they would appreciate working with some folks. They're starting to get a time crunch on a few things. They have some grants that they're concerned about there. So they're anxious to find that leadership there. Second, Public Safety Roundtable is on December 2nd in this room. Jim Riga will be leading that. Appreciate him stepping forward and doing that. Road construction update. If you haven't noticed it around the community, a lot of orange cones going on. So the Maricopa County Department of Transportation, they're out doing some slurry seals throughout Anthem on this east side, since they're the ones responsible for the streets on this side. It will be going through the end of this month, probably into early next month, given the current rain right now. Our asphalt project itself is being delayed as well, so I'm going to be surprised to see that shift a little bit. And there's a map on our website or on the back table. The I-17 project rolls on as well. Again, the rain this week, while grateful for it, it's going to slow down that project as well. They have their lane closures going on, and you can go to ADOT's site to get updates on that there. Civic Building, just making sure everyone's aware. We will be closing at 3 p.m. next Wednesday, and then we'll be closed Thursday and Friday and Saturday, for Thanksgiving. And then for winter break, we'll be closed the 24th and 25th, and then we'll be closing the 31st at 3 p.m. We will have signs up so the public's aware of that as they come in and need to conduct any business. They'll be aware of that. Suite 203, I am happy to report that 8 of the 9 units are leased out. So there's a 10th unit existing right now. It's being used as a conference room. Depending on interest, we may convert that as well. So we'll see there. It's one of our smaller units that isn't leased out yet. So that's great. We are streaming these meetings on YouTube, as Gay alluded to. She has watched it from home, so make sure you're talking into your microphone, because if you can't hear your own voice, they aren't hearing you either. And then I think that Director Duckworth is going to be giving an update on the Anthem Area Business Support Committee as well.
Yes, thank you. So we had 14 applications to the Business Support Committee, and Director Hartman and Director McKenzie and I met yesterday and reviewed all 14. I guess I'm too close or too far. I'm not sure which. We reviewed all 14 yesterday. We sorted it down to 8 candidates we'd like to invite back for interviews, and those will be scheduled for Monday and Tuesday of next week, and then hope to schedule our first official meeting soon thereafter.
All right, thank you, Director Duckworth. One, to make you aware as well, I got this from Chief Tobin, and I've shared this with the Chamber of Commerce, and we'll put this out on our website as well. The Small Business Administration, they are offering disaster loans for residents and businesses from Hurricane Priscilla and Tropical Storm Raymond. So that's not anything we're doing, that's the SBA. They are doing that, but I wanted to make sure that local businesses and residents were aware if they were impacted, they could apply for those funds there. So in the way of business services, we've had 2 design reviews approved, had a couple more come through today actually, so this was from last week. Excited to see that. We have 9 in process and we have 6 pending payment. Pending payment means they've sent us an application, but they haven't paid yet. So we used to review and then send out the letter and then try to collect. Wasn't as successful as we'd like it to be. So now we say, hey, we're not going to review until you pay. That's helped us immensely collect payment for our design reviews. So that is the update on that. Then we have Ms. Dahl.
Thank you. So I want to just share the active employee count. We're at 135 head count. You can see that we are coming down off of our summer spike, so that's good. We still have 1 open position. It's in the community center, the full-time children's program supervisor, and that position is posted out on the website. Right now for employee relations and team building, 'tis the season for this kind of fun activity. Last week we had our November all hands meeting, which is for all ACC employees. And there we have some fun, but we also present some awards. And one of the awards is the All Hands Award, which is a peer nominated award. And based on the Anthem Way values, and the winner was Chris Montano for Manage Community Resources with Care and Pride. So we're really excited to give him that award. And then also we gave out the GOAT Award, which again is Greatest of Anthem this quarter. Jim Riga, you heard his name already tonight. He is our Safety and Aquatics Manager. So a lot of awards going out this year to well-deserved employees. And during the meeting, we always like to spice it up a little. The Morale Committee had one of the large saran wraps that we did, kind of played around, had candy in there and a gift. And so we had Miguel, who won that. And then Aaron was in charge of the icebreaker, which was Jeopardy, Anthem Jeopardy. And so you have the winners up there of our Jeopardy winners in that. Also, I think it was on the slide before, it was the Halloween picture. So we did some fun activities about dressing up for Halloween. But this past Monday, one of the items that was on our calendar for a while was to assist youth for troops to load their Christmas care boxes for the service members, both overseas and stateside. I will tell you, we had a great turnout of our employees show up here at this building, run from the second floor to the first floor, 1,476 boxes, and it loaded 5 postal trucks. So those are headed out to all our service members for the holidays. There's a great post on Instagram right now for Tanya, who is on the Youth for Troops, Also providing additional activities for fundraisers for the rest of the year that they are going to be doing for troops. So you can check that out. For training and development, we're wrapping up our 2025 training schedule with the semi-annual customer service training in December and training with the managers on performance review communication. And then finally, wrapping up the HR projects for this year too, closing out the 2026 benefit open enrollment, and also getting ready to finalize the performance management process and kickoff for January. And then our revised updated handbook is on docket to be handed out to the employees here in December as well. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to send it over to Scott.
All right, I'm going to try to talk into the microphone correctly after that great demo earlier. We are doing a trial of some new Sunday hours at the community center for the rest of the year. We're opening at 8 a.m. We've been getting some good resident feedback on that, and hopefully that's something that we will continue to do. For aquatics, we are hosting the Holiday Classic Triathlon on December 13th, so stay away from that parking lot on that day. It'll be busy, and we have all of our lifeguard classes in for next year, so registration's open for getting our lifeguards on board for 2026, and our swim and dive programs are open despite the funky weather. I did want to give a shout out to our new coach, Dan, who had his first big meet a couple weeks ago and had some really great success. Obviously, we were all excited about our sports and fitness with the new pickleball event that we just had opening those courts. I don't want to steal Kevin's thunder, so I'll let him talk about it, but we are running some fun pickleball and tennis programs. We had a turkey tournament for tennis, and we're running a evening adult league for pickleball. And in December, we're going to run a family-friendly pickleball one-day event. So instead of just all of us grumpy old people, we're going to have some kids and young people out there as well. So trying to get new people involved in that growing sport. Inside the building, we have our adult basketball going on in December, and then we have our rec leagues for basketball and volleyball, and then outside we have adult softball, and we're running an adult soccer as well, and we're right in the middle of our youth soccer program. We are hosting, again, in our parking lot on Turkey Day, November 27th, the annual Anthem Turkey Trot, and with that we will have some short hours for the building. We don't open the pool on Thanksgiving, but we open the building from 7 a.m. to noon, so you can get your workout in and then go eat all that good food on Thanksgiving. And then some special holiday hours at the community center and pool, which are posted online and up on that slide. Out in the fields, I did have a couple updates on the dog park membership that I had talked about last week, so I brought that info with me. I'm sure one of the people in the audience will be interested to hear how that's going. So when we first opened the dog park, we had about 800 people sign up. Just on average, it's gone down about 100 members, where we're hovering around 500 at this point. So that's our goal, is to be in that 500 member range. The interesting things with that is from 6 years ago now, when we opened the dog park, we've kept 95 people from that original. So there's 95 of the same dogs that are still out there chasing the ball. But we do have about 100 new people that join every year, and some of that variance is because of people moving, which we can track. We've had over 300 of the original people that have signed up over time have moved out of Anthem, and then the thing that we don't track is if the dogs pass. So that could be some of the variance as well. We will in January be doing a survey to get more information on maybe people have just decided not to come back. So I'll share those results once we have that. But I did want to share that information with you guys on the dog park. And while we're talking about dogs, I wanted to give feedback on the rattlesnake training. We had 19 of the 20 spots filled up, and it was very successful. We had people interested as we were running it that wanted to sign up. And so we will be running another class in the spring when the snakes start coming out again. So look for that around March. And then we are running a new outdoor rec programming. We're running our own Learn How to Fish out in the pond. And we are working on a hiking program for adults where we would lead some hikes and do some of the walks in the Anthem area. So we're calling that our outdoor rec program. And then an update on the school parking. We are up to 60 passes sold. So that's pretty good going into the halfway point, because there'll still be a lot more of those sophomores and maybe some juniors that are really smart, like Doogie Howser types, that will be aging up to 16 and needing a place to park. And we'll see those numbers going up. And it's been really great. We've had 0 incidents with kids being disrespectful or any of those issues, other than the one kid that is still learning how to drive that thought they should run into one of our barriers. But that's what you get with new drivers. And then that is it for me. Oh, youth and family. Sorry, I'm like, I know we got one more thing. We are running a Thanksgiving and winter break camp, as always. So sign up is open for that. And we do have our parents' night out, our babysitting certification, and we're running a program called Parents' Day Out every Saturday in December, where the parents could drop their kids off. They'll do some sports activities, and then they can go shopping, or like I said in our staff meeting, they could go home and take a nap while their kids are playing. It's whatever the parents want to do, but that's a program we're running for December as well. So that concludes all the fun stuff we're working on, and I will turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Newell. So for parks, facilities, and construction, we have a staffing update. We've just recently promoted to Parks, Facilities, and Construction Inspector a gentleman by the name of Mitchell Laron. He was a Tech 2. He's been here for about 3 years, and he's now our new inspector to go out and inspect for walls and damages and complaints and concerns. We also brought on board a new Tech 2 for the fields. His name is Taylor Hall. He's fitting in very well. Great guy, very knowledgeable, a lot of skills. So we're training him up and getting him out there and helping with getting those fields prepped and making sure Scott and his team has a good surface to play on with all those programs he's got. For the facilities, we've completed the community center HVAC replacements just in time for the cold winter snap. However, we do have a very large percentage of those units that are new or fairly new, so we're looking forward to a good summer next year, and we will be doing great. The main entry doors at the community center have also been replaced, and they've had new hinges put on them and new tread plates, and hopefully we won't have any more issues with those doors. We've repaired a duct detector here in this building. We're also doing some drywall repairs within the Civic building. And for 2026, our operation and reserve budget, we've assigned those items for our department, and we're now sequencing and getting them lined out for 2026 because we don't ever stop. It's only 2025, but we're already working on 2026. For landscaping, we've completed turf conversion for a small segment of Paseo. There were some issues with shading and the turf. That's completed. We've completed tree replacements at the community center and at the adventure park. We've completed a preliminary design for the concrete remediation at the community center. We'll be rolling that out shortly. The poly to PVC for 2025 has been completed, and the granite refresh for 2025 was just completed the other day, right before the rainstorm, which for us is great because it makes all the granite now match all the other granite. For the parks, we've completed our Go Green Autumn Fest Veterans Day Parade and Veterans Day celebration since the last board meeting. We've completed a light pole replacement in the upper park. 95% of the Christmas tree lights are already installed, waiting for activation after the Thanksgiving holiday. Winter in the park decorations and lighting are in progress, and we've completed the installation of the memorial plaque for the AVM expansion and that was put on before Veterans Day. For our construction division, the community center asphalt remediation. I think you guys have all experienced it. We've completed phase 1 and it looks gorgeous. Brand new asphalt, brand new parking blocks. We still need to do phase 2, which we were supposed to start yesterday. However, the rains have pushed us off. So our new schedule for phase 2, which is the east side of the parking lot, will begin on December 1st and run through December 5th. God willing, the creek don't rise. We've completed a wall repair for the vehicle strike that was over off of Memorial on Fuller Drive. We're still waiting for the reserve replacement for the transformers out at the amphitheater, and that's scheduled for in December sometime. We're still waiting for it to come in. We've got 2 pumps on order for the Anthem Way entry falls. They should be here the first week of January 2026, and they'll be installed. And we're currently have 11 wall repairs that we're doing in-house. Those are currently in progress, and we've got 44 of those completed to date. Other than that, we're just getting ready for Christmas and wrapping presents and all that good stuff. I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Foster, the Manager of Special Projects, for the Capital Projects Update. Kevin?
Thank you, Mike. So I am pleased to report that the pickleball expansion is completed, and thank you to everyone that came out for the grand opening event. For the community center locker room remodel, we've got quotes for structural iron remediation and quotes for HVAC environmental controls. We have an agenda item to review both. The dog park modifications, the new trees are installed and they look great. Benches are ordered. We have a 8 to 10 week lead time from the manufacturer on those. And the quote for fence sunshades. The existing pickleball courts resurfacing, we've received quotes for that, and we're working with vendors for scheduling. They are all booked through the end of the year, unfortunately, right now. So that project will most likely have to be after the new year. And is there any questions from the board on those?
We're going to hold questions until staff reports are all done.
Oh, apologies.
That's all
thank you.
good. Thank you so much.
And on that note, I will turn it over to Dee Nortman. She's the finance director.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Get this closer to me. You will have received a different format for the October financial statements in your packet. My goal was to make them more clear and easier to understand. So please let me know if you have any questions or recommendations as you review those. I also created some new slides for tonight, so I'll be trying those out. The Finance Committee met yesterday and also received the new financials and saw the slides. Since you have the more detailed reports in your packets, these slides are meant to be more of a high-level review, so I'm just going to hit the high points. So our first report is the summarized statement of revenue and expense, or the income statement, for both the month of October and year-to-date through October. You can see that some of the detail has been condensed into broader categories, just to give a quick summary. If we take a look down at the bottom line for operations, we can see that council has a net loss of $945,000 year-to-date through October. Our budget for this same time period is a loss of $914,000 because we budget for the paper loss of depreciation in operations. So we're about $31,000 unfavorable to budget in total. As part of a $14 million budget, that's a fraction of a percent. So we're in really good shape. On the revenue side, up above, we're at $67,000 below budget so far this year. And you can see the main drivers listed above. Events and programs revenue is about $89,000 lower than expected. Facility rentals also a bit lower than budgeted. And it's offset by the higher interest up in the other category. Down in the expense section, we can see that we're $36,000 favorable to budget, so kind of going the other way. We've spent $23,000 less than expected through October, and depreciation is also slightly lower than anticipated. On the financial report, on the detailed financial report, there's a lot of pluses and minuses going back and forth. Spending was higher in some categories, lower in others. It all totaled out to have a savings of $23,000. The bottom of the summary on the net income or loss is for the reserve and enhancement funds, just to give an idea of where those are at. The reserve fund has $1.5 million in net income, and the enhancement fund has a $973,000 loss. But both funds have a positive variance to budget so far this year. So they're on track, just one has spent a little more than the other due to the construction over at the community center. On a consolidated basis, council has a $389,000 loss, but is $273,000 favorable to budget through October. So on track. Our next report is the balance sheet, looking at October month end as compared to the end of last year, the end of 2024. Assets and liabilities have both increased by $5.4 million. This is a little misleading, and I'll show you why. The primary driver of the increase in assets comes from an increase in cash up above, an increase in interfund receivables, which we'll talk a little more about, and a reduction in fixed assets through depreciation. The interfund receivables is in the asset section, and the interfund payables on the liability side offset each other. These are transfers between funds for items such as reserve fund contribution, expenditures for reserve and enhancement projects. Currently, these are recorded as a due to, due from transaction and settled up at the end of the year. So it just makes it look a little bit off. If you remove that amount from both sides, the increase in assets is closer to $391,000. So, next slide. Am I missing one? Okay, so with that in mind, if we look at the liabilities and equity side, the primary drivers here are the $512,000 up at the top, which is really just timing of when we made payments, when we received revenue, and the $389,000 net loss year to date down at the bottom, which we just saw on the income statement as well. That's it.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dee.
Oh, yep, sorry, Steve.
For special events and communications, the Anthem Veterans Memorial paverling ceremonies were held on October 28th and 29th. Thank you to everybody who attended, and a special thank you to the U.S. Army, Daisy Mountain Veterans, and the Youth for Troops for participating. The Veterans Day ceremony was on November 11th. Congratulations to George Walker for being awarded the Veterans Service Award, which was presented by Dino Cotton. Thank you. We also want to extend our gratitude to the U.S. Army Phoenix Recruiting Battalion, U.S. Navy Phoenix Recruiting, Youth for Troops, Musical Theater of Anthem, Sandra Day O'Connor Air Force, JROTC, Captain Bruce Kosevich, Rear Admirals Bill Putnam and Ron Tucker, and our MC, Aaron Baker. Also, a special recognition to Mike Tuttle for playing of the taps. Winter in the Park is just around the corner on December 5th from 5 to 9 p.m. Live music from The Deadline. Food vendors, free bounce houses, gift vendors, and the North Pole experience for only $10 includes a picture with Santa, holiday-themed craft, Daisy Mountain Railroad train ride ticket, letters to Santa, and reindeer games. Market in the Park resumes on December 7th and 21st. New dates for 2026 will be up on our website, and vendor registration is open. Market in the Park takes place on scheduled Sundays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. located in the community park. Christmas tree drop-off on January 10th and 17th from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. located in the lower parking lot adjacent from the soccer fields. Representatives from Republic Services will be on hand to assist residents with unloading their Christmas trees. And also, please ensure that your Christmas trees all the decorations have been removed. Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration is on January 19th, right here at 10 a.m. in the Civic Building. The Unity Walk will begin here, and it'll go to the Anthem Veterans Memorial and back. Breakfast and coffee will also be available that day. And the 2025 Resident Photo Submission Contest is currently underway. The winner will be announced on January 5th. Photos submitted from January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025 will be eligible. The winner will receive a $150 Visa gift card. For additional contest rules and information, please visit our website at anthemcouncil.com. And now I will turn it over to Chairman Cotton.
Thank you, Steve. And we're going to turn it over to questions from the board. Barb, do you have a question?
I do, thank you.
Thank you.
Of Scott. Oh, I just was curious about the student parking, and are we prorating that? No, so it's the same now, okay. And then the other question I had was about North Lawn programs. Are we continuing to program that space? Thank you.
Yes, we actually ran the snake class there. We have our tots, which is like our little group that doesn't need to go into the park and wander off and find the snakes. So they are doing it in the North Lawn as well. And then we have a few different groups that are using the little outdoor workout area there. We have a group from Anthem Prep. We have our own swim group. And we have a teen fitness group that we run in-house as well. So we are definitely using that area.
Scott, could you mention what we're also offering in the way of cornhole?
So if you were on the amenities committee a couple of years ago, we had talked about at some point having the option to bring some like yard games out to certain areas of the park, maybe bocce ball, cornhole, things like that. So we have started, activated the cornhole rental as of November, and we had 3 just in the first couple weeks of offering it. So it's working. Obviously, you know, we have different ages and sizes of the staff that are out there taking the cornhole, so they don't all love it, but we've had good response from the residents. So we're thinking bocce ball will be next, and then maybe adding some areas. Right now, you can add it on to anything that is currently reservable, a ramada, a classroom, the North Lawn, like a pool cabana, any of those things. But the goal at some point would be like, hey, QR code, and I want to play over at the soccer field or something. So we're getting there. This is the first step. And I did have one more thing since I'm talking. If you have been in the community center in the last couple months, you notice our old, heavy, outdated TVs got taken down because we were having so many issues having to bring the lift in to reset them. Slowly, the TVs are popping up like Christmas presents on the fitness floor. Monday, we will have them activated with the new digital wireless boxes. So not everybody's noticed, but there are a few that are missing. They want their MTV to paraphrase. So that'll be coming up next week.
That's great. Thank you. Is there any other questions from the board for staff? I will say we really appreciate everything that you guys do. You do a phenomenal job, and there's a lot that's going on. I got to tell you, Steve, your team did a great job running the Veterans Day ceremony. It was pretty wild. It was very well done. We'll work on our timing next year, you know, to shrink that down. We'll maybe inform the quilters to tone it down just a little bit. But I will tell you, one of the most interesting things was there was a 102-year-old World War II veteran that was there. My only regret was that I didn't get a photo with him because he had a line of about 15 people waiting to take a photo, but that was pretty special. That was a really special event, so I really appreciate it. That being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve staff reports.
I move we approve the staff reports and financial reports with the sincere thanks of the board for the hard work.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, Director Duckworth seconds. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Oh. Ron Jarek, you have a comment if you would approach the podium and on staff report financials.
I'm going to try to follow Gil's instructions. And I understand where you're coming from because I have difficulty at times hearing also. And I have a special difficulty hearing from the ladies. It's a well-known fact that without you, we wouldn't be here, but your voices don't penetrate a person's ears like a man does. I was told that by an audiologist. So there you go. Here's my comment on the finance part. In the meeting yesterday, chaired by Dave Duckworth, there was considerable discussion on an item of $89,000 deficit in the budget. And that comprises community events, community programming. So the question was, what happened? Why are we $89,000 short? Who is monitoring the money in these programs? Who authorizes the overage? Do we just cave when one of our suppliers or groups that furnish things to us throw a number out and we accept it? The conclusion from the group, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, was that we need a report that shows what happened and what constituted and who approved an $89,000 deficit for community events and community programming. And that was to be referred to Mr. Baker, as I recall. I think that completes my comments on that subject.
Thank you, Ron. Dee, would you like to make any comment to that?
Sure. At the Finance Committee meeting yesterday, we discussed it was actually a little bit lower revenue. It wasn't an overpayment in expenses. That was also partially offset by a reduction in expenses, so it lowered it by about $25,000. And we did talk about having kind of an audit report to see, to iron out the details, which we'll get to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Jarrett. Okay. That being said, we're going to move on to number 7, committee updates and action items, and then turn it over to Treasurer Duckworth for the update from the Finance Committee.
All right, we did meet yesterday, had a quorum, and we had 2 items we wanted to report to the board. Ron and Dee already took one of the items, but just to add an emphasis to that, we did have a lengthy discussion about community events and programs, and the thought was, and the request back to the board is to really do a detailed review or an audit of the events and the programs. So we get a better understanding of, which should be continued, which should be declared as lost leaders, in other words, necessary, that may cost more than we're going to get, and which really should be eliminated due to ongoing cost overruns. So that's a request back to the board. Second item was a proposal by Dee and finance staff that we kind of restate the property and how we are accounting for property and depreciation of our, not just property, but assets. And the committee unanimously agreed with Dee's proposal that we create a property fund, which just made too much sense because it'll create some real clarity with the financial reporting. That's it.
Thank you. Dee, did you want to make any comment on that? You said you were going to bring something back for the finance committee, or is that just the next meeting?
I'll jump on those two. One on the report of events and programs that was part of your budget packet. So the board does see that annually. That comes through, so you're able to kind of keep score on that one. So we can refresh that for the most current month. So that's available for you. As to the property fund that was discussed, that will be a January agenda item. Since in the past we've created additional funds, we've sought the board's approval for that. So we will bring that back in January for your consideration there.
Okay, thank you. And then to the growth committee, obviously we saw a presentation this morning, or not this morning, early in the beginning of the meeting. Thank you so much. What time is it? At the beginning of the meeting, thank you so much to Kurt and Roger. The growth committee will be back in January to provide the board with a recommendation from phase 2. So that being said, I will entertain a motion to accept the committee reports.
I move we accept the committee reports with the thanks of the board.
Do we have a second? Okay. Is there any comments or questions from the board on any of the committee reports? Is there any comments or questions from anyone in attendance today? No? Okay. That being said, we'll hold a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to number 8, old business, Liberty Bell Park Financial or FMP project. All right, Kevin's going to take it over. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. All right, Liberty Bell. So this board item is a continuation from last month. So we had the resident input signage out there asking for suggestions on ideas, and we kept it up and received 170 responses. From those, the largest share of residents, 38%, expressed interest in refreshing existing amenities such as replacing water fixture or upgrading playground elements. 22% suggested adding additional amenities, including more shade structures or picnic tables. 14% of respondents indicated they would prefer to keep the park the same, continuing current maintenance and reserve activities. 5% supported adding rental or service-based features such as ramadas, grills, or volleyball nets, while only 0.6% expressed interest in repurposing sections of the park. The remaining 17% provided additional ideas through various comments. Within that group, 4 residents have indicated interest in serving on a working committee to support the next phase of this project. Based on the volume of feedback received and the desire for continued resident involvement, staff's recommendation is that the board direct staff to formally establish a working committee. The role of this committee would be to review the collected input, explore feasible project options, and develop a clear set of recommendations for the board at the January 2026 meeting. This structure will ensure that the board perspectives remain central to the process while providing the board with a focused, actionable set of next step options early next year. All right. Can I ask if there's any questions now?
Sure. Barb, go ahead.
Thank you. I do have a question. Do we know if those are unique respondents? In other words, is somebody going in and putting their request in multiple times, or is it unique?
I'll turn that over to Steve for that because he was in charge of that.
On the reports that we pull on those, we can pull IP addresses, and we can check for, the same person voting multiple times.
And it's through an IP address, right?
Yeah, it basically, it automatically tracks it. We don't even have to program it in, but I can pull that data too.
So they could come up here and we won't tell secrets. Go to somebody's house. Anyway, okay. I'm glad that we've had so much input. That's good. Thank you.
Of course.
I'll entertain a motion on this here. We have a suggested motion listed in the agenda.
So moved.
Would that be the motion that's suggested? Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
I do, Mr. Chair. If, as part of this, if we could have any board members who would be interested in serving on this, obviously we would be capped at 3. This is a kind of a quick turnaround. It's December and January. But if you are interested, if you could let me know, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm interested.
I do have a question. Is January 26th enough time for you to be able to organize that group and get the right feedback that you want?
It's going to be a tight turnaround with the holidays, but it's a goal, it's a target date. So
Hopeful.
I'm hopeful that we'll get there.
All right.
But with the holidays, it is realistic that this may be a February item, but I'm going to shoot for January.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and open up to a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Good luck. Thank you. Okay, moving on to old business 8B, community center locker room remodel, environmental control systems. And that is Director Krask and Executive Director Aaron Baker.
I'm going to take this one, and then Mike's going to help me out if I get lost on this one. Last month, we brought to you some change orders. On the brief, we provided you an update on those. And we also said we would bring back this month environmental controls. After further research and looking at this and searching through the issue, what our recommendation is at this point is to have our current contractor finish with their existing scope of work, finish out all that they've got, and then close out that project, and then we would competitively bid the environmental controls systems. We have a rough order of magnitude estimate that is significantly higher than some bids we're getting from some other vendors. So we feel like we can treat this as a separate project. We're not going to undo a lot of the work that's been done. Certainly not to the amount of the worst. There may be some drywall and painting, but that's incidental in the grand scheme of things when we're talking about 5 and 6 figures that we could save if we competitively bid this. So our recommendation to you tonight would be to approve the separation of the HVAC, the environmental control modifications from the current scope of work under NIP construction, and then we'll bring that back to you after they finish with competitive bids for the environmental controls.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move that we authorize staff to go forward with completion of the work and separate the environmental control element into a separate project to be bid later.
Is there a second? Okay, great. No open up to discussion. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just want to say thank you because this is what we talked about last meeting, and I think this is a great alternative. So kudos to the group who thought of doing that. So
I agree. All right, I'll turn it over. Any questions or comments from residents and attendants? Okay, we'll turn to a vote. All in favor say aye. 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 All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into 8C, background checks for board member candidates. And I don't think there's anything that I'm going to mention on here, so I'll just go ahead and turn it over to entertain a motion.
I motion we table or postpone. Can I use one or the other? Does it matter? Okay. Table this discussion till our January meeting, providing direction to staff. I feel like you're shaking your head at me. Okay. Providing direction to staff.
Cody, can you scoot up? There you go.
Providing direction to staff, and this is where I'll probably want some help with clarification on this. To how detailed do we need to get to postpone?
I'm okay if you leave it at just a motion to table and
We can discuss.
keep and if the chair is open to keeping dialogue open for guidance
Absolutely.
to staff on how to proceed during
So
the interim.
table till January, and we can discuss some of the details, of what we need ironed out later.
Great.
Second.
We have a second. Okay. Now we're going to open it up to board comment and any questions. Mark?
So I just don't know the process here. I want something else on top of that.
Yeah. Oh, you want to add something to the motion?
I want to amend the amendment.
How about this? How about you, because they're going to take it back to legal. We're going to table it. How about you just say what you'd like to be in there? Is that what you're looking for?
I don't, as long as I'm following the process.
Yeah.
I believe this belongs in the code of conduct. I would like to see the group come together with the supermajority and modify the code of conduct moving forward and not move in the direction of tabling and bringing it up later.
That would be the 5 of 7 board members vote to amend the bylaws.
Can I provide a point of clarification? So there are 3 options of doing this. One is the board policy manual.
I misspoke. It's
Okay.
the bylaws.
Okay.
Bylaws require 5 of 7. In that, we can also look at the code of conduct.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Any other comments or questions? Wish list items? Dave?
A wish list would be that we, however this plays out, that we also consider a review or a resume review as a precursor to a candidacy. And given the a review with enough time such that a candidate can come back and amend their resume should something come out incorrect.
So that would be part of the background check process. Okay. And then I think, sorry. I just want to ask some clarifying question on direction here. Do you want this process, the way it's currently drafted is there is a decision made by the board chair. How would you like that decision-making process to go instead, if different at all?
Can I make a suggestion? Since Cody has made a motion, possibly we could follow with her motion with the suggestions from these suggestions. You don't like that? No. Well, we need to act on her motion, and then that can become a new motion.
No.
I think her motion is to table it for next month, have a conversation. We're open discussion right now as to what you'd like to see. Staff will take that with legal, coordinate, come back, and we'll have something new for the January meeting in 2 months.
Well, we vote on that, and if we approve it, great, or we need to defer to.
Yeah, so we're deferring right now. We're just opening up for what you'd like to see different in what has been presented. So, Aaron, you had asked about how that's going to look.
Yeah, so if is it a process, because we had talked about some different things in the memo. It was a potential bylaw amendment, policy manual adjustment, or code of conduct. And from what I'm hearing is you would like to see something in the bylaws and like to see something in the code of conduct. And then the next question I have is kind of the adjudication process. If something were to come back from a background check, is it then worked through, is that the board chair considers that, or is that we hire a third party to look through that and adjudicate it based on the standards that you provide?
I feel like we need to talk first about the proposal, the amendment to the background checks. What Cody said, can we not vote on that and then move on to something else, or do we need to continuously try and step over. Cody gives hers, I give mine. I'm trying to avoid that. I feel like she made she gave her a motion, she got a second. I feel like we've talked, can we not vote on it and either say yay or nay and then give something else, or do we need to keep going about what
So right now is
should
the
happen?
discussion Q&A portion of this motion. So once you make a motion, it's seconded, then the board gets to have a conversation about it. Staff is looking for clarification on that, which is that sub portion is to reconvene, to gather information and come back in the January meeting.
Yeah, so if we're coming back in January, what do you want us to bring back? That's really my question. Is I think we can understand the instructions of come back in January, but I just want to make sure if there are elements that the board wants to see in there or a specific direction that as we bring it back, we have some clarity on that. Because I could bring you back whatever you want. So I just want to make sure it's in harmony with what's coming back with what
I'm trying not to hog this up here, so I'd like other people to talk. I would like to see you come back with something for options to modify the council bylaws and the code of conduct.
Understood. Okay. And then the resume check would be included in the background check. And I guess, nope, okay, that's it.
Yeah, I do believe that you can do just a resume check. I think, Tanya, yeah. You can just have
So
the-
that would be something aside from this then. That would be something you'd probably have to bring up if you didn't want it to be clustered into the background check process. That would be a question for the vendor that we would select.
I guess then just my final piece of clarity is if there's an adjudication, is that the board chair? Is that someone else? If there is to be adjudication of the question.
Right, there is no background check in the current discussion.
This is the motion that she's making to table the background checks for board member candidates. So right now we're talking about background checks.
So if we amend the bylaws, is that stating, and you're suggesting, are you wanting to see a background check in the bylaws, or you're not wanting to see a background check in the bylaw and just do the code of conduct?
I'm saying that we will look at both and we will come up with something that works for all 7 people.
Aaron, regarding your question on adjudication, my suggestion would be partial of the proposed amendment 2 and 1 that I provided you. If we could move that in and we could modify the resolution.
Okay.
And put that out ahead of time to allow the board to be able to review and delegate.
Okay. And if there are alternative options you want us to bring forward as well, that's just fine. That's why I'm asking, because I'm kind of saying, what do you want us to bring forward if we're tabling this?
So we each get to speak? Is now the time?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
I would say now's the time.
I don't want to table it because we're just keep going around in circles and circles. So I'm in favor of putting it on the code of conduct. And a couple of the points about getting a background check is adding background checks is a double-edged sword. There are both potential benefits, as we've talked about, and I think all of us realize, and potential risks. The background checks, the information that's in the background check is available online, or it's public record. So since the council is elected by the residents, I feel that the residents should do their research to determine if someone meets the qualifications. There's no Arizona state law that requires background checks for elected officials as a qualification for running for or holding office. That's not the same as resume. I'm in favor of checking the resume. But I would like to not vote. I'm not sure how to vote with these two things. I don't want to have a background check, so I want to make sure I'm voting the correct way. Also, I think that legal has already advised us about the risks associated with having a background check. So I'm quite honestly right now, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be voting for.
So right now, the motion on the table is to postpone the vote on the resolution R20 amendment to Board Policy Manual, Section 3.2, to our January meeting, to allow staff and legal to gather the board input further off of what we have so far and refine the amendment for the resolution to be voted on in January.
But we have an amendment, so are we voting on the
We
amendment?
we don't have an amendment.
Oh, he doesn't, he's withdrawing his, okay.
Well, he's not withdrawing anything.
So if you are not in support of background checks, you would vote no, I don't want to table the item. Okay, you're saying you don't want to table it. And then if, let's say that the motion failed, let's say it was 3-4, 3 voted in favor of tabling and 4 voted against tabling, then we would need another motion. Or if there was no one making a motion, then the item would just die.
If I could just add, just to move this forward possibly.
Sure.
So if we voted no, not to table, I'm getting a sense from many that an alternative motion could be that we just amend the code of conduct and get that done tonight.
So what would happen
Sorry,
if you?
What am I misinterpreting?
Not tonight. We would amend those another time.
Well, no, we would vote to amend it.
Correct.
Right.
You would give us direction to bring something forward amending the code of conduct.
Exactly.
Okay, just want to make sure amending the code of conduct on the floor, while possible, might not be the wisest course of action.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I like that idea.
Okay.
Point out, we have now spent more time discussing this proposed policy than the board spent deciding to buy this building.
Okay. I'm going to turn over questions and comments to residents. Ron Jarek, you had filled out a form for background checks. Approach the podium, please.
First off, I think you all know, I've got 6 lawyers in the family. I don't know how I managed to keep them all under control, but they all offer me different viewpoints on various subjects. And this subject of background checks really stirred up some conversations in the family. One of the comments was, and by the way, I really appreciate the comments from Laura, Bob, and Barb, because those have all come up in discussion. So comments from my lawyer constituents. Have we checked the state constitution and state statutes for how this impacts the subject? I don't know what we have, that we've had. The next question becomes, what constitutes a sex offender? You do a background check and it says, hey, this guy's a sex offender. Does that mean he urinated in public? That could be a sex offender. The report comes back and says sex offender. You guys say, hey, can't serve on our committee. What constitutes domestic violence? Have you decided that? Hell, I've been a victim of domestic violence when I was a kid. I did something wrong. My dad whacked me across the side of the head. And did I go and get a lawsuit against him? No. I could have. And that would have meant he was convicted of domestic violence. So you've got to decide what degree constitutes those issues. Also on fraud. I mean, are you going to accept a $5,000 perjury case against a company as a fraud suit and say that's okay? Or does it have to exceed a certain level? You people are stepping on really thin ice, and you really can't stop or take somebody's name off a ballot because you do a background check. If you do, you are in deep doo-doo and subjecting yourself to a terrific lawsuit. Now, do you have any legal advice who can be on a ballot? It can be anybody can put their name on a ballot, and you can't stop it. So you've got to consider all those things. And if it comes down to Cody and Dino making a choice on somebody's subjects, you can't do it. You can't stop somebody from being on the ballot.
Thank you, Ron.
If you want to, you're leaving council open to one big lawsuit.
Hey, Ron, thank you so much. That's going to be the time.
I appreciate Laura and Bob and Barb's comments. And my thoughts here, I'm not waving the flag for sex offenders, say I love sex offenders or I love people who commit fraud or domestic violence. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is these are items that you have got to consider before you move forward. And I don't think that any of you have considered all the possibilities.
Thank you, Ron.
Those are my comments.
All right, I appreciate it. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We'll go ahead and move to a vote. All in favor, say aye. And raise your hand if you're approving the motion to table to January. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That was the motion that you wanted to table. So you want to vote currently right now on background checks. We're not tabling it. We're voting on the motion currently. Okay.
So what about the nays, just so we have it for the record?
Okay, so if you are opposed to tabling this until January, go ahead and raise your hand. Nay? All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have 5 no's. Okay, that motion fails. Do I have another motion?
I motion that staff bring to us information on how to modify the council bylaws and or the code of conduct in January.
Mark, that was what we just voted on. The table until January.
Can I interject?
Please.
If so, what you've done is essentially there's no incentive for us to bring back what we've already prepared for you in January. And so if there's no majority presence on the board that the document that I provided to you for this meeting would warrant majority approval, no motions are necessary at this time. However, you could do it now or you could do it in a future agenda item. You could ask that we bring back in January a code of conduct or a bylaw or however you want us to frame that. I just need the direction from the board. What do you want us to bring to you?
I feel like that's what I just said.
So, but I don't need a motion for it.
Okay.
We would just need, we can do that now or in the context of your agenda item for future agenda items. At this time, just give us direction on what to bring back. So Aaron will notice another background check element at the January meeting, but that element will not, we won't bring back the policy change that we've proposed unless someone wants to make a motion today to approve the policy as we proposed it and proceed through amendments to get that to a point of approval. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So no motions are necessary under this agenda item. If you don't like what I presented, if you want me to bring something back, we just need 2 directors to advise future agenda item.
So I would agree with Mark, and I would recommend that we come back with the code of conduct description.
Okay, are you seconding? Okay, Director Duckworth seconds Director Barbie's motion. Are we clear on the motion?
May I ask a couple of questions, just so I'm clear? A bylaws amendment requires 5 out of 7 and makes it mandatory for people to go through a background check process. If that's not what you're trying to implement, if you are looking for the code of conduct, which we talked about, and here's one of the options as well, would be to require people who are currently on the board to comply with certain standards while they are on the board. If that's what you're after, then it would simply be a code of conduct amendment instead. But a bylaw amendment requires a background check for everyone. Now, we could amend the bylaws to say you have to attest that as part of your thing, but that's already kind of built into the annual attestation that you make right now already in your documents. So I'm not sure why we would do a bylaws amendment, because that seems like double.
So what I would like to see is the 7 board members talking about the council bylaws in our next meeting in January, and looking at those as a group to see if we need to make any changes. If the group says no, we like them as is, then next we'll review the code of conduct, and then we'll look at that and see if we need to make any changes there. I'm not saying that we're adding anything to any document. I'm saying let's review it as a group.
Okay, so that makes sense then. I thought you were saying amendment language, but you want an agenda item that is where we walk through what the existing bylaws are currently, what the requirements are, and then we would walk through the current code of conduct as well. And then you could provide direction saying, okay, in February, bring back a bylaw amendment or bring back a code of conduct amendment or something like that. Is that correct?
I like your verbiage.
Okay, thank you. I'm clear now. Jonathan, are we good?
I would say, so what we're anticipating is we're not bringing anything back to you. We already have this information. We'll just put a discussion-only topic on the January agenda. And then after that, if there's a precedence to move forward, we'll prepare whatever you guide us to prepare.
And that's your motion, and you seconded it. Is that correct? Mr. Barbie, you and Mr. Duckworth? Okay, thank you.
The way you described it, I agree.
Thanks.
Okay, any discussion on this from the board, on this motion that's on the table?
Procedurally, I don't think you need a motion. This is just 2 board members requesting an agenda item.
We don't need to make a motion and vote on it then?
This is going through our future agenda item process prematurely.
Okay. Bob, did you want to say something?
I was
Okay.
bring up a point we didn't need to have a motion.
Is there a motion regarding the background checks for board member candidates currently on the agenda? There is no motion. Okay. So
our minutes would just reflect the proposal fails for lack of motion, and then we'll come back with the January directive.
okay. Moving on to 8D, amendment to board manual section 7.1.2 and others. Do we have a motion on the table for this resolution? Is there? So the process that we'll go by is you make a motion, it gets seconded, and then we have an open discussion.
I understand. I'm still thinking about the last thing, so bear with me here. I need clarification on what I'm seeing on the board.
What this is in regards to the board policy manual, the proposed amendments. It would be amending section 1.1.1, 7.2.12, and 7.2.33. There's a resolution that was put together. There is a proposed amendment to the existing resolution, and what that proposed amendment does is it adds a 6th section that clarifies that the ACC is not subject to these sign or decoration regulations.
Since there was no motion on the first, isn't this a moot point?
It would be. I just, he had asked what was up there, and I was saying this is what's up there right now, and there is that available as well that was distributed. So that's what that is.
I'm going to return back to this for the agenda item amendment to Board Policy Manual, Section 7.1.2, 7.2.12, and 7.2.33. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution? Bless you. There is no motion, okay? Then let it reflect. Going on to number 9, new business, ACC strategic pillars and priorities.
May I have the clicker, please? I will try to make this brief. I understand everyone's been here a long time. So I'm going to provide a year-end update for you, what we've been able to accomplish this year as a team. What overarches and undergirds what we do are Anthem Way values. We have all 6 of them listed up there. I won't read them to you on that. You're aware of them. From an organizational leadership perspective, this is our first pillar. There are 4 of them. We put them on every agenda item that we have as well: organizational leadership, regional growth, operational excellence, and fiscal stewardship. And so point 1 here under organizational leadership is to enhance current employee performance and board performance as well. So we've made great efforts this year in 2025 to do wonderful things for our employees. We implemented a new performance management system through Paylocity. And in 2026, we're going to implement journaling and goal setting as well. So as we do our performance reviews, those will roll out as components. Those have existed kind of as on a piece of paper, but now they'll exist within the system and have reminders associated with them. So HR is working out the kinks on those right now to roll out. I've tested the journaling component as well. It's really nice. So we've been able to standardize that process, and that's what we'll be adding that as well. For employee professional development, we have employees participating in the tuition reimbursement program and also doing training programs as well. We sent a few employees to a management training course a few weeks ago. Parks, Facilities, and Construction, they have their training course that they do. It's Vector is what it's called. Helps them add skills for their employees as well. And then we've developed a training calendar tied to the budget for 2026 that HR will be implementing. So grateful for that as well. And then we talked about our employee recognition, our All Hands Award, our GOAT Award. And then we use a system called Bonusly, where you can award employee points and then they can go get gift cards wherever they would like. So if you were in the past, we got someone a McDonald's gift card or a Walmart gift card. Now we just give them Bonusly points and they can go to LL Bean or give it to some charity. That they have a lot more control in that area. So those are some things we're doing to help ensure well-trained and professional board and staff. On the regional growth front, I don't want to belabor this point since our growth committee already presented tonight, and then they will present again in January. There were some subpoints there as well. Analyze our policies and positions with regard to neighboring development, establish a formal evaluation process, and if annexation is desired, put together an annexation package for prospective developers there. So I will defer to the committee on that one. Manage community resources with care and pride. This one is our largest one, probably, in the sense of a lot of our activities fall into this arena. One, I have to admit, this first one is collaborate with legal counsel to update and restructure the board policy manual. They have sent it to me. It's one of those projects that got backburnered, but I am committing publicly to having something on the January 2026 agenda for your consideration. So we'll go from there on that one. Then we talked about evaluating the current Anthem tagline. That is something that has not been a priority, and I've allowed it to lie fallow, and I've received some informal direction of not wanting to pursue that in the future, so I haven't touched that. Continue to partner with public agencies that serve Anthem. There were some personnel changes at MCSO and Phoenix PD, but we continue to do a great job working with them. Even through those changes, public safety roundtables continue to go on as well there. And so we'll also participate in the Rio Vista Planning Committee, and in Sonoran Crossing Medical Center, they have an advisory group as well. So great opportunities there to work with our neighbors and establish good relationships. And then from a technology perspective, under operational excellence, TCR was approved. That is our ability to text. They regulate businesses' ability to text. You have to have that opt-out. I'm sure all of you have seen the opt-out text that comes, or reply stop. That's TCR related. Our website functionality has improved significantly and it continues to grow. We are retooling our Anthem Way Guide first quarter 2026. We had hoped to do that this quarter, but we had some personnel things come up that made that an impossibility to do. Civic Rec, you can now submit and update your information online rather than having to be there in person. Scott's staff's been very good about putting that together there. So as people come in, if they forget something, there's a way to submit it securely online through Civic Rec. And then we've implemented some changes to our remote equipment monitoring, which has been very helpful for our staff. So now we can monitor our splash pad at Liberty Bell Park or our pool chemicals remotely as well. So that saves people from having to drive into work to make sure stuff's working properly. So that's really nice on a Sunday morning when you do need to check them. You can do it then from your phone rather than having to drive in. All right, and then finally, maintain an assessment rate with low volatility. So there are 3 areas under this: sub areas, operate and maintain facilities and assets to the high Anthem standard, create exceptional value for residents through thoughtfully curated programs, events, and services, and proactively identify and manage risk. So under the low volatility, operate and maintain facilities and assets to the high Anthem standard, we have had for several years maintained a break-even annual budget. That's just been the way we've operated. I feel like this is one we can check off the list and just know that this is a mandate moving forward. Prior to my arrival here, this wasn't always the case. The ACC did approve deficit budgets. I feel like that that practice has shifted and we're not doing that anymore. Implement a comprehensive physical asset management system, that's LIMBL. This is the new standard for how we operate. Work orders go through here, our assets go in here. So again, this is one I would like to take off the list and just know that it's an expectation of this is what we use. Mike's team and Scott's team and everyone, frankly, is using it at this point. I even use it. So review the procedures and criteria utilized for the facilities master plan. That agenda item is coming up tonight, and we're looking to finalize that process in 2026. And then create exceptional value for residents through programs, events, and services. This first one was related to Veterans Day and the Anthem Veterans Memorial. I feel like we have done that. The board met earlier this year, and the Anthem Way Foundation board met as well. They signed an operating agreement between the 2 groups, and we established some criteria or some parameters. So this item to me is done, and we can take it off the list. Next. Maximize community impact by optimizing existing programs and how we work our programs. So some of our existing events we have reworked and we continue to rework. Autumn Fest, there were some hiccups this year with our Autumn Fest this year. The carnival was one. So we're looking at potential new dates to better have more rides for folks, because that was our #1 complaint that we heard about that, and that we hear folks on that one. I will tell the public and folks here, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So we're working with carnival vendors, and so sometimes their schedules dictate our schedules. So there's the potential for us moving dates on Autumn Fest. So what it has always been might not be what it always will be because of the need to work with vendors there to get good rides. Veterans Day, we formalized that this year, so I was excited that that went through there. And then Winter in the Park is a tag team event between programs and special events there. And so it's a good one that we have, and we continue to build on that. We did some new events this year as well. The Touch-A-Truck was a big hit for anyone who has kids. They loved that event. My kids went, and my 5-year-old daughter still talks about it and asks if we can go back to that one again next year. So a lot of fun, and it's a hidden benefit to this is it allows our public safety agencies to have good public outreach, because we invite all of our public safety agencies and they like to do public outreach in non-confrontational, non-combative places. So it allows the kids to see the police officers, the firefighters, and the paramedics as normal people and interact with them and build a rapport there. So there's a double benefit to that. We did the children's clothing exchange in this building as well. It was an opportunity for folks in the community to bring in their used clothes, exchange them, swap here. And then we did a food truck Friday at the community pool. That was a new thing we tried out as well. And then new programming, sports clinics, weekly team sports and fitness programming, and then the Safety Guard summer program as well. Great suggestion from our programs staff to do that. Think of it similar to junior lifeguard, where kids pay to come shadow our staff and learn what it means to work at the rec center, or excuse me, at the community center. So awesome program there. Thought that was great. And then proactively identify and manage risk. We've been focusing on the IT front for the past couple of years on this one, especially securing our infrastructure there. We hired a new vendor this year, AAM IT Services. We have been delighted with their work. It's been nice to have them on site and know that things will get done. We have one of their staffers here, Jeff. Appreciate him and his work. He's here often. So some of the things that they've done that have made us more secure, they've implemented multi-factor authentication for Microsoft Office 365. I know this can be annoying when you have to get out your phone, but it actually creates a more secure environment. A lot of these are things that our cyber insurance is requiring us to do. So they're not just best practice, they're an insurance requirement. SSO implementation for multiple applications. So what that is instead of us having different passwords and usernames for all the different applications we have, we use a single sign-on. We use our Windows credentials essentially, and it goes out and checks and says, okay, yep, you are who you are. And so the employees have to remember fewer passwords. But also what it does is when an employee leaves, we change their Windows password and then they're locked out of all those other applications instantaneously as well. So it serves multiple benefits there. We implemented a new backup server solution. Previously, it wasn't as good as it is right now. We were backing up on the machine that we were backing up. So not very reliable. We implemented Radius server. What Radius is when you log into Wi-Fi here, you put your credentials in as an employee, so we know who you are and we know the machines that are on our secure network. The guest network doesn't require that, but on the kind of the internal network, Radius tracks access through that. Prior to that, we had not changed the password, I think, in 10 years on our internal network. And then they developed a 2026 IT roadmap of what we're going to accomplish this coming year. So very happy. Obviously, work continues in this area, but we have a great start and very grateful for them. Okay, customer service training. This was another area I didn't list on the thing, but it came up multiple times, so we elevated it. We have seen a significant improvement in customer service over the past 6 months due to better staff placement, especially at the community center. I congratulate the staff over there. They are doing a great job. I think they're doing a better job of greeting patrons as they enter and exit, and you don't see phones out. So Danny over there, real compliment to her and her staff on that one. So integrating customer service training into organizational leadership as an ongoing priority. So what I would like to do under developing a staff and board is add a component under there that talks about customer service training. We've scheduled it annually twice a year is what we're supposed to be doing it. And so I'd like to formalize that so that we keep the momentum that we already have. And then board intranet site. Gay and I had a recent demo with AAM about some options. We expect to have something for you to look at by the end of the year. We're going to simplify the interface, improve data access and research capabilities. Really, you have old meeting minutes and notes and resolutions and all that kind of stuff. We'd like to get it set up in a way that's really easy for you to use. And you will have a chance to see kind of iterations of that interface as we work on it there. But ideally, this is done before the end of the year because it's not super complex. We don't have to get any right now, we don't have to get any custom programming done, so. And then for 2026, what I would like to do, kind of already taking the comments we talked about, keep the pillars the same. Under operational excellence, add a priority about the procurement process as well. I will say, I do believe the policy is sound, but I also note that we can do better at implementation on that. So I put together a slide with some suggestions right here to enhance our current process. One would be to better utilize cooperative agreements. Dee has some experience with this from DC Ranch. Gina Richard as well used to be the procurement or help with that over there and did a great job. So we've talked about making sure we have our staff properly trained to utilize those to get the state pricing. And then another option would be to send appropriate staff to procurement training courses to enhance existing skills and develop new ones. And then we could bring in a specialist to look over our policies and procedures right now and give us any suggestions of how we can improve that. Develop templates and standard forms with that. And then maybe one step further would be create some fill-in-the-blank templates for very common tasks. And we have a lot of this already, but this will just formalize that. We're going to help save us a little bit of money, but I will say on the fill-in-the-blank templates, you have to be a little careful and only use them in very specific cases because sometimes there are always nuances with each project. You want to make sure you capture those. So that is my discussion point for 2026 of the things we'd like to see accomplished this coming year. Is any comments about 25 or suggestions for 26 of items that we should add?
Any comments or suggestions for staff on the strategic pillars on the board? Nothing?
With that, then what I will do is I will update it for 26 with what I talked about, adding some of those items and taking out some of the other ones. And then we'll get you a copy of that so you have it.
Anything else from staff on that? Dave?
Just a quick comment. I'd like to formally thank you, Aaron, and your entire operation. This is very well run, and now that I'm learning the detail of what is going on, I'm just very impressed, and just wanted to formally thank you.
Thank you. It takes a village. We have a great team here. We really do. They do marvelous work.
Okay, do we have a motion? That says approve the Anthem 2026 pillars and propose changes to direct staff to implement them.
It was there in case you wanted to make a formal motion. If you don't want to make a formal motion, we don't.
All right. If no one wants to make a formal motion, we'll move on to the next item. New business 9B, next facilities master plan process discussion.
Okay, I'm going to go under the assumption that you have read your packet about the process. We have multiple phases to this. We have some, let me back up. We've established some guiding principles here that we want to make sure you agree with. The ACC has, one is talking about undeveloped land. We will want proposals to focus on redeveloping, repurposing, or maximizing existing improvements. We have about 3 acres left that we could use. So when people come in and say, we need to build a stadium, it's like, we don't have the land to do that unless we gobble up something we're already using. The proposal should generate, and I put this word here on purpose, significant new operating revenue or drive down operating expenses. Some people say, oh, generate a little bit of money. I'm like, that's like $5,000 a year. That's not significant in my mind. Should not contemplate the initial capital, should not only contemplate the initial capital costs, but the ongoing operating costs with it. I'll talk about some recommendations we have on how to accomplish that, because last time we asked people for that, did not work very well. Our demographics continue to evolve, so I think we need to keep a broad mind or perspective about what people will want, because Anthem continues to age and turn over, and younger families are coming in. And so saying, hey, that park right there is perfect. It might be 25 years old, and we might want to do something with that different. So there we go. let's just talk about the multi-phase approach. We'll kind of skip down to that. Phase 1 would be an education campaign. Phase 2 would be community outreach. And then we would do a preliminary evaluation period. There would be a committee formed to review the applications that are brought in. And then there would be preliminary board consideration of those ideas. After that step, we would bring in a third party, professional designer, to help cost out and create some concepts for the ones that we say, let's say we get 30 projects. After that preliminary evaluation period and board consideration, you whittle it down to, let's say you whittle it down to 7. You say, okay, these 7 are actually viable. Then under that final evaluation period, we would work with that professional to develop those ideas more and develop costs associated with that, both for construction and operating. That's where I think we fell apart. We asked the lay public last time to come up with those, and they had no idea. So that would cost us some money. That money would come out of enhancement to pay for that, so that wouldn't be an operating expense. But then once that's put together, then there would be final committee and board consideration, where you would say, okay, based on all these factors we were looking at here, let's go forward with these projects. This is the priority in which we want to accomplish them. So that's kind of the multi-phase approach there. Any input on that? That's what we're really looking for tonight is, hey, does this process flow the way you would like?
I do have a question, comment. I think this looks a lot of like what we did before with establishing the committee. I'm all in favor of that. I think the other problem we ran into is if you have a project that's going to be 3 years out, there's no way you're going to be able to give a cost for it now. So we might just play that in mind too, that you can't cost it until it's closer.
Well, I guess if all things are equal and we bid everything at the same time, at least you get proportionately compare, say, okay, this project's going to cost us $500,000 and this one's going to cost us $1 million. It may end up costing us $1 million too, due to an inflation or whatever. But at least at that point in time, we can say, okay, as we're comparing these, this is how they compare to each other. But I do agree, we'll need to go back out and refresh that pricing as the project itself comes up.
Is that off mute? Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I love it, and maybe this is just me being naive, but you're talking about a 21-month process. It's a long time. Is it possible to accelerate that?
We can. As I looked at some of these from other groups, it's just going to come down to people participating. That's why we kind of open these up in 3 and 4 month swaths, and I don't love it. But if I say community input for 3 weeks, we're not going to get anything. You've got to get that out there for 3 or 4 months. Then the evaluation period. So we'll try to compress this as much as we can, but I tried to be conservative in my numbers. I will say one benefit to having it be a little longer is you do build up fund balance. So that's not a negative. It continues to earn interest and accrue.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, any questions or comments from residents in attendance? No? Okay. With that being said, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, community park asphalt remediation. Director Krask.
Thank you, Chair Cotton. We are bringing this conversation back from the October board meeting. The board had directed staff to proceed with the asphalt project for the main park. So we reached out to our civil engineering team. They performed some testing, they did some designs, and we actually went out to bid through competitive pricing models. We had an initial cost produced by the engineers for $1,007,946. Out of the 5 vendors that they had gotten competitive bids for us, 3 bids were returned, and the Lowest bid was $929,000, quite a bit of a savings. The middle bid was $935,000. And then the highest bid was $924. So we reviewed the bids and we reviewed the actual vendors themselves. And I know this has come up before. We are recommending that the board or the ACC accepts the proposal for $934,889 with YSC paving. They're not the highest, they're not the lowest, but we have worked with them before, and we have also worked with Copper State, but YSC is a little bit better than Copper State, and we would like to go with that bid. So,
Just a quick,
Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
just a quick question. So I thought, did you pick Copper State for phase one?
we did. We use Copper, no, two different projects. For the community center, we're using Copper State for both phase one and phase two. This is for the main community park.
And why wouldn't you use Copper State? Is there a concern?
Well, their price is a little bit higher, and so the YSC, which is just as good as Copper State, they offered us a price that's a little bit better, and they're actually giving us a discount for using, doing this all as one project instead of breaking it up into 3 smaller projects over a period of time. And again, I have worked with both Copper State and YSC before. They're comparable in quality, and they're offering us a little bit better product, and that also keeps both of those vendors in a relationship with the ACC.
So I will note, this project, the scope of it, there are some differences. There's a lot of concrete work that's going to go on with this project as well. So it's different than the community center in that we're going to put some concrete channels to funnel the water through the parking lot as well. So that may contribute to the price difference as well.
So kind of a flip to that question, Mike. Dave brought up, why didn't we go with that vendor if they were cheaper and comparable quality on the community center parking lot?
They didn't bid.
They didn't bid. Okay. All right. Any comments or questions from the board? No? Okay. I'm open to a motion.
I move we accept staff's recommendation on this project.
Is there a second? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we'll go on to number 10, future board agenda items. Is there anything from a board member that they would like to bring up for future board meetings? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Anything, Mark? Go ahead.
This is, so we're gonna get what we talked about earlier here. I said it prematurely. Okay.
Locked in.
Okay, and then on to open discussion. I have one card here from Ron Jarek on the resale assessment. Ron, if you want to approach the podium, you have 2 minutes. Actually, 3 minutes, I think, as it says on this sheet here. Go ahead. 3 minutes. Go ahead. You're getting your squats in today, Ron.
You know we're going to talk about money. You always follow the money. So here's my concern. We are doing a resale assessment of $300 beginning the 1st of January. And I think that comes from the sale of each individual house in HOA or in Parkside and Club. My question is, or before I get to that, what kind of issues did you have to take into consideration before you came up with a resale assessment when you didn't take anything into consideration when I asked you to do an increase in fees for the commercial district? You told me that that wasn't appropriate because there's too many issues. I don't understand your logic. Going back, who is going to get this money, this resale assessment money? Whose pocket does it go into? Does it go into Country Club HOA, Parkside HOA, or does it all go to ACC? What's the answer?
Ron, Aaron will talk to you after the.
Pardon me?
Aaron will talk to you after we adjourn. He'll give you.
I think it's a matter for public discussion.
We had this discussion, we voted on it last month. So if you want to review the video, you can go onto the YouTube and check that out. Or you can
So
to the meeting.
my proposal is that we reduce funding for all these projects we're involved in with ACC and use that money, the resale assessment, to lower residents' HOA fees. We should be looking at ways to raise other fees on commercial, which will aid significantly more than this. We're not looking at everything. It's my concern.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. It's good to see you. All right. Any other public comment from any other residents in attendance? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Do you have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.